Okay, so ready for a deep dive. Today we're
Yes.
looking at something a little different. A website that sells journals.
Okay.
Now, before you think we're about to get all like stationery obsessed, it's the content on this site that caught my eye.
Okay.
They have this article, 50 journal prompts for people writing on Black History Month.
Mm.
And it really got me thinking about how, we tend to approach Black History Month kind of the same way every year, right?
Yeah.
The big names, the key events.
Right.
But this article, it flips the script. It's like, yeah, know the history, but then really think about it. How does it connect to you?
Yeah, it's really interesting how they use journaling, something so personal, as a way to explore these bigger historical themes, right? Like, it's one thing to memorize names and dates. It's another to connect with history on a personal level.
Exactly. And they give you some really specific prompts to get you thinking. There's one, for example, that asks you to imagine a world without Garrett Morgan's traffic light.
Oh, wow.
And it's like, yeah, we see traffic lights every day, but can you imagine the chaos without them? The accidents, it makes you appreciate the impact of his invention in a whole new way.
It really underscores the importance of understanding historical context, doesn't it? Cause and effect, long-term consequences. It's not just about knowing what happened, but why it matters.
It's like that saying, history doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes.
Yeah.
This article really makes you see those echoes of the past in the present.
It does. And it's interesting. This approach actually aligns with a lot of modern educational trends, moving away from rote memorization and towards this kind of critical engagement with history.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's about making those connections between then and now. And it goes beyond just reflection, too. Some of these prompts really push you to take action.
Ah.
Yeah, like one asks, how can you support Black-owned businesses? Another one challenges you to design a Black History Month celebration that's truly inclusive of all communities.
I like that.
It's about recognizing that Black history isn't just something we learn about for a month. It's woven into the very fabric of American history.
Absolutely. And that understanding the fight for civil rights, for equality, it's an ongoing story, and it's something that affects all of us.
It's recognizing that the fight for justice isn't a spectator sport. It demands participation.
Right, and I think that's where these prompts become really powerful.
Yeah.
Because they highlight these issues, racial justice, economic equity, representation. These are issues we're grappling with every day, right?
Every single day.
It's about recognizing that history is alive, it's evolving, and we all have a part to play in shaping the next chapter.
And, we've talked about reflecting on history, taking action. But this website, it takes things even further. It recognizes the power of creativity in all of this.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they have prompts that encourage artistic expressions like writing poems, designing posters, even like making playlists inspired by Black artists.
I like that.
Because, art has this unique ability to communicate these complex emotions. It can help bridge cultural divides and sometimes even inspire empathy and action in a way that just talking about these issues can't always do.
Right. It allows people to tap into a shared humanity, right? To connect on a deeper level.
Exactly. Think about the impact of a song like We Shall Overcome during the Civil Rights Movement, or how Maya Angelou's poetry still resonates with people today.
Powerful examples.
It's not just about the facts. It's about engaging your whole self, your intellect, your emotions, your creativity. And sometimes that's what it takes to spark real understanding and change.
It's about seeing yourself as part of the story, not just a passive observer.
Right, exactly. History isn't just something in the past. It's a living, breathing narrative, and we all have a hand in writing the next chapter.
Exactly.
And some of these prompts really highlight that. Like, there's one that asks, how does celebrating Black History Month help us understand America better? Not just Black America, but the nation as a whole.
It's a great question because it shows how interconnected everything is.
Right.
Like, when we learn about Black history, the fight for equality, the contributions to our culture, it deepens our understanding of, all of American history.
Exactly. It's like that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats.
Mm-hmm.
When we work towards justice for one group, it makes society more just for everyone.
Right. It's not just about the past. It's about creating a better future.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do we take these reflections beyond, February? Like, these journal prompts are great, but how do we turn those thoughts into action?
That's the big question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer, but I think it starts with recognizing that this is a long game. It's about making these ideas part of our lives, not just something we think about for 1 month.
So it's about making conscious choices every day in what we support, how we interact with others, and making sure those choices align with, the things we've been reflecting on.
Exactly. Supporting Black-owned businesses, seeking out diverse voices in the media, educating ourselves on these issues of social justice, it all adds up.
And even just like talking about these issues, right? Having conversations with friends, family, coworkers, sharing what we're learning, and maybe even challenging ourselves, challenging our own biases.
Absolutely. Don't underestimate the power of dialogue. Is how we create real, lasting change. One person's actions can inspire another, and then another. It creates this ripple effect.
That ripple effect, that idea of collective action, that's what I find so inspiring. It's like giving individuals the power to create change, and not just in their own lives, but in their communities.
And in the end, isn't that how we shape history? By taking these small, everyday actions. Actions that might seem insignificant on their own, but together they become something much bigger.
It's that collective power that's behind so much of the progress that's been made. Think about the journey of Black America from the Underground Railroad to the Civil Rights Movement. It's a story of incredible resilience, determination, this unyielding hope, and it all came from people coming together demanding something better.
That's what I think is so effective about this WebSense approach. They blend education, reflection, and action into this package that's both deeply personal, but also has this potential to create real change.
Totally. It reminds me of that quote, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Margaret Mead.
A good reminder that we all have a part to play in making the world a better place. And sometimes the biggest changes come from the smallest actions.
I completely agree. So if you're listening and thinking like, where do I even start? Just remember, every journey begins with a single step.
Exactly. Maybe you choose one of those journal prompts and really dig into it, or you start a conversation with someone who has a different perspective than your own. You support a cause that resonates with you. Every little thing matters.
What really speaks to me is this idea that Black history isn't just something we pull out in February.
Right.
It's not static. It's not confined to a textbook. It's a living, breathing part of who we are as a nation. It's woven into everything.
It is. And as we continue to learn and grow, it's important to approach all of this with open hearts, open minds, and a commitment to making the world a more just and equitable place for everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I have one last thought-provoking question for you. What will you carry forward from Black History Month? How will you use your voice, your actions, your creativity to help make the world a better, more just place?
Keep those journals handy, folks, because this conversation isn't over.
It really makes you think about, the power of individual stories, right? Like how each person's experience contributes to this larger narrative.
Exactly. And how those individual stories can inspire us to take action, to make a
Stuff
difference.
like what can seem like a small act on its own, like writing in a journal, it can actually be a step towards something much bigger.
Absolutely. It can be a catalyst for self-reflection, for starting conversations, for, planting the seeds of change.
And speaking of change, I think it's important to acknowledge that, progress isn't always linear. There are going to be setbacks, there are going to be challenges along the way.
That's true. But I think that's where resilience comes in. The ability to keep learning, keep growing, keep pushing forward, even when things get tough.
It's about having that long-term vision, right? That commitment to creating a better future, even if we don't see the results immediately.
Exactly. And remembering that we're all in this together.
It's about building bridges, having those sometimes difficult conversations, and working collaboratively towards a more just and equitable world.
Well said. And as we wrap up, I keep coming back to this idea of personal responsibility. Like, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of the challenges we face, but at the end of the day, it's up to each of us to decide what kind of impact we want to have.
It's about recognizing that we all have a role to play in shaping the future.
Exactly.
So as we close out this deep dive, I want to leave you with this.
Yeah.
What will your role be? How will you use this moment, this opportunity, to create positive change in your own life and in the world around you?
Think about it, folks, and let's keep the conversation going.